Alright, welcome back and welcome to Proverbs 16, the sequel, which is a roundabout way of saying Proverbs 17. And that's because Proverbs 17 comes after 16. Don't say I didn't teach you anything in these videos. But with that said, let's take a look at some verses. Starting with verse 3, it says, "The crucible is for silver, and the furnace is for gold, and the Lord tests hearts." And so this proverb is obviously talking about the refining of precious metals. If you're not familiar with that process, basically you put in your gold, you put in your silver, you heat it up and the impurities bubble to the top, and then they scrape those off. So you're left with the purest gold or the purest silver you could possibly get. In much the same way, God does the same thing in our lives. Whenever we go through hard times or struggles, God's able to use those moments to refine us and to refine our character and our nature and the very essence of our personality. So we go through these hard times, impurities kind of bubble up, God's able to scrape those things off, and so we come out on the other side all the more pure and better off for it. Now, as you probably already know, that's not a one-time thing by any means. It's not like you go through one hard time and then impurities come, God scrapes them off and you're good to go. No, on this side of eternity, it's just a lifetime of that, with different impurities being scraped off. But again, it's a way to make our very essence more pure and to make us more righteous. In our living and in our actions and the way we interact with people, the way we treat people, so on and so forth. So don't be discouraged. We all go through it, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing for sure. Let's look at another one. Let's look at verse 10. It says, "A rebuke goes deeper into a man of understanding than 100 blows into a fool." And maybe you know this person. Maybe you're married to this person. You're related to this person. You work with this person. This person's your neighbor, whatever the case may be. There are just some people out there, you can tell them 100 times, you can tell them 1,000 times, you could beat them over the head with a stick, and they're just not going to get the message. Proverbs would call that person a fool. Whereas you've got other people where, they mess up, and in correcting them, you say, okay, you shouldn't have done that, you should have done this. They take that, it sinks in, and then the next time they don't do that, they do it the correct way. So, and obviously that's the preferred method. So yeah, there's that one. Let's look at verse 12. It says, "Let a man meet a she-bear robbed of her cubs rather than a fool in his folly." So basically what this is saying is you are better off to meet a mama bear who has lost one of her cubs, who is undoubtedly going to be very, very hot, very, very angry, and out for blood, as opposed to coming into the presence of a fool in the midst of their folly. So, there's a lot of humor here. There's some exaggeration here. You're going to see this in Proverbs, but it's all to make a point that avoid the fool in their folly. Avoid that. Don't let that be you. Don't be associated with that. And in this case, you're better off running into mama bear. Again, it's an exaggeration, but I think you get the point. Let's look at one more. We'll say number 14. It says, "The beginning of strife is like letting water out, so quit before the quarrel breaks out." And the idea here is, once you start something, the floodgates have been opened. And once the floodgates are opened, it's hard to shut those floodgates. So basically what it's saying here is to be careful. Don't open those floodgates if you're not prepared to weather that. Be wise in what you say, and if you don't need to cause strife, don't cause strife. Now, obviously, there are times when it is necessary, especially when we've got a brother or sister in Christ that needs correction, and that needs our attention. But again, we've said it before. Your mama said it before I did. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And so that's kind of the idea here. So, yeah, Proverbs 17.